Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon here in downtown Providence. We'd like to thank Vicki Stone-Corliss and Lee Brown for coming in to talk about book clubs and their contest running this month to support book clubs, so be sure to check that out. I'd like to welcome back a familiar face, and it's been a busy week in the trucking industry.
Sure
Chris
has.
Maxwell with the Rhode Island Trucking Association.
Kate, good to be here.
Thanks for
As
coming
always.
in.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Lots to talk about.
There is,
I know
yeah.
you've been talking with leaders and stakeholders
Sure,
too.
yeah.
But let's go back to the beginning of the week when the announcement was made public. New England Motor
Sure.
Freight, as you said, the largest carrier bankruptcy since 2002.
Correct.
Announced that they were closing up. Now, we put the piece up. You had reached out and said
Correct.
that approximately 145 jobs
Right.
here in their Pawtucket base.
Correct.
And of course all throughout the Northeast. Now, they're on the lawsuit with the Trucking Association as well.
They are members of the American Trucking Associations. They're members of our association, and yes, they are currently still co-plaintiffs in our lawsuit against the state of Rhode Island.
Let's talk a little bit about the circumstances that you see or saw or in
Sure.
conversations with folks,
Yep.
because we did put the piece up and said that they were obviously on that lawsuit as well.
Sure.
There were some folks who probably said, well, you can't necessarily blame the truck tolls.
No.
But was it just a piece of the puzzle?
It's a piece of the big puzzle. In no way, shape, or form did tolls doom New England Motor Freight. New England Motor Freight is a decade-old company. They started hauling for Nabisco years ago. The Chevelle family brought New England Motor Freight to business in 1977. Powerhouse, 10,000 pieces of equipment, thousands of drivers. They clearly, obviously, contributed to their own demise. But at the end of the day, this situation, as you indicated, the biggest powerhouse trucking company to go out since 2002. We are perhaps on the door of a recession, and trucking is a great indicator of the economy. And we have very high wages for drivers due to a driver shortage, and we also have very low freight rates. So in this situation, I think New England Motor Freight got caught up in that. They clearly made some bad decisions that have contributed to this. Great people, members, big supporters, but again, I think in much like the Benny's situation, and I'm not saying the Brombergs and Benny's were in that sort of financial problems, but I think these people made some money over the years. I think they looked at the trucking industry. I think their bankers, their investors, the people they were talking to, talked about the viability and the sustainability of this. I think they looked at their projected revenues with things such as tolling, with things such as the deflated freight rates, much in part to do to companies like Amazon that are crashing the markets, huge driver pay increases, and those two factors basically, all those factors together, the macroeconomic portion of it contributed. But so yes, were tolls a factor when they looked at $600,000 alone in Rhode Island? Were they a factor in this decision to do a controlled folding up of the operations? They were a factor, not the factor.
And let's talk a little bit about that. You kind of mentioned how it was a unique situation,
Sure.
and as you said, potentially staring at the prospect of a recession.
Correct.
Is this an indicator of the industry as a whole, or is this just a sort of a one company situation?
No, I think that we have members of our own association that are looking at the tolls. They're looking at other factors, and they're actually looking at. And again, I go back to Benny's. They looked at the retail economy in light of Walmart and Amazon and everything that's going on. They looked at their operational charge fees with operating a fleet around Rhode Island. All these things contributed to them making a controlled decision. We currently have members of the Trucking Association we're in conversations with that are looking at doing the same. Do we move out of Rhode Island? Do we reconfigure our fleet so as to go with equipment that will not be tolled? Do we just close our doors? These are factors that companies in a very high asset-based management companies with high risk, which trucking is, in this situation, this market right now with, again, high truck driver wages and low freight rates, they have to start looking at the long-term sustainability and viability. The American Trucking Associations has a whole economics department. They track these factors all the day, every day, and the indications are that this may not be the end of it, not only in Rhode Island, but nationally. So that doesn't bode well for we the consumers, because less trucking companies and higher freight rates now, if they do escalate with less trucking companies, the end user, which is the consumer, you and I, unfortunately be paying higher rates for everything, as I like to say, everything we eat, drink, watch, wear, and drive.
So speaking of national news, another piece of information that came out this week, the American Transportation Research Institute released its list of the 100 worst bottlenecks in the country.
Yes.
Rhode Island came in at number 35 for 195 and 95, probably not surprisingly. But there's an interesting facet to this that you pointed out, and as it pertains to where tolls are located and how it could actually be driving more trucks into that number 35 bottleneck area.
Right. So the whole thought about the basis for tolling the through tractor trailers that, quote, don't pay their fair share and do all the damage is again the trucks going through Rhode Island. So any urban planners or traffic control people would reasonably think that those trucks that have no business in the metropolitan center, they have no business in the congested areas where our commuters are traveling, where there are very tough safety areas that trucks have historically had problems negotiating, Thurbers Avenue and the S-curves, with one of the top 100 bottlenecks, 35th in the country. You would think the incentive, you can use tolls, if you're going to toll, you can use tolls to your advantage to incentivize travel around urban centers for safety reasons, for productivity reasons, for all those reasons. So why, in the case of the posted toll rates for $2.95, would you be charging $22.50 for trucks going through the state, $22.50 to use $2.95, and only $11 to go through Providence? A no-brainer. Now all those through trucks have decided to use Providence. Therefore, we have more congestion, more bottlenecks, less safe roads, and less productivity. So it's just, you wonder again about the whole program, the thought process that goes into it.
Chris, I'm going to bring you a little closer over here. Talk a little bit about that. Can anything be done at this point? Again, you had pointed out that sort of the laws of unintended consequences. I mean, we do know how the state looked at where the tolls were going to be. I mean, what have your conversations been with the DOT to say, hey guys, this is just contributing to this existing problem?
I think most of the comment period for they publish the tolls. The first two tolls are $3.25 and $3.50 respectively down in the southern part of the state. The next 12 sites have been published, anywhere from $2.50 to $9. So I think most of the comment to the state was they're not sustainable. They're staggering, as LaMotta Freight eloquently put it. So most of the comments were about the negative impacts and how it's going to affect a company's sustainability.
But this one in particular.
In this particular, these rates, well, we wrote a letter to them saying that, you may want to reconfigure this. Our hope is that they're not vindictive and say, well, we're just now going to charge trucks 30 through Providence and do that, because I think sometimes there can be a little bit of vindictiveness. And, we're guilty of that too sometimes.
So let's talk status of the lawsuit.
Yes.
Where things stand.
Right now, we filed suit, as everyone knows, in July. The state responded in late August with the motion to dismiss from the federal court where it was filed. We felt the federal court, being that this was a commerce issue on trucking, that the federal court was the appropriate place. The state feels otherwise. The state feels that it belongs in a state court.
Okay.
They have filed for a motion to dismiss from the state courts. Their answer, their motion, does not at all refute our basis of our lawsuit, which is that tolling interstate through trucks and targeting them in your plan is unconstitutional. So they have their answer thus far does not really
even address the underlying
does not address the underlying root cause of our case. What it really addresses is the jurisdictional issues, and right now Judge Smith has the jurisdiction over that decision, and we await that.
Okay, well, I appreciate your coming in to give
Always
folks an
a pleasure,
update.
Kate.
Chris Maxwell with the Rhode Island Trucking Association. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with our last and final guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.